Young Sheldon. That's right, and frequent host and storyteller for NPR's The Moth. We have actor, writer, director, producer, and musician Steve Burns. And to bring him onto the stage, I would like to bring out your moderator, Mr. Jonathan London. Give it up for Jonathan London.
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody? How are y'all doing? Y'all excited to talk to Steve? Steve, how does it make you feel having people that grew up with you greet you out here on stage, grow up with you, and tell you stories? What are some of the stories that have touched you over the years where you're like, wow, I'm never going to forget that?
Well, those are two questions. I think it's awesome. This kind of thing is, I don't know. I think it's pretty remarkable, and to me it feels really pretty special. I can't think of anything else like this. You know, when we started talking to each other 20-some years ago, right? In a way that, even though it was highly mediated, you know, through a television or whatever, it felt immediate to me. And it just seems pretty special that we are able, all of these years later, to kind of reconnect and continue the conversation at totally different parts of our lives. It just feels kind of awesome to me and feels pretty special to me. And I always say, like, I don't know any of you. I've never met any of you in person, but this does feel like talking to old friends. So thanks for coming out. And your second question is stories. You know, there's a million of them. But my favorite piece of fan mail I ever got was from a kid named Jonathan. And it said, "Dear Steve, I love you. I want to be a pizza. Love, Jonathan." And me too. First of all, that's right. Me too, Jonathan. Second of all, it always bothered me all these years. I'm always hoping to run into him. Because I'm like, I spent every day telling Jonathan that if he used his mind and took a step at a time, he could literally be anything that he wanted to be. And I just worry about him now. I'm worried if he's like in a bathtub somewhere, like covered in marinara sauce, slicing a mushroom under himself. Jonathan, I didn't mean it literally.
I'm right here, Steve.
It was you!
And
dude, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. You know how important
pizza to me.
Important those words were to hear when I was younger, that I could be a pizza when I grew up. What kind of pizza would you be?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Hey, that's a great question. Yeah, I do like Hawaiian pizza. I know that is kind of a controversial thing. But I'm into it for sure. I don't know if it would be my go-to. I would be a slice. See, I'm from New York, so I would be a slice of Joe's on Bleecker Street. That's what I would be.
You roll it up to eat it?
You fold it and break it, crust a little bit. That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Well, let's talk about New York. Let's talk about pre-Blue's Clues. You
Okay.
moved to New York to be an actor. You get this audition. Take us through it, because I don't think the Steve that we saw on screen was the Steve that walked into the audition room way back when. What can you tell us? You remember that day?
Oh, yeah. So, I was almost not, this is a cool story to tell you guys. It almost didn't happen at all, right? Because I moved to New York City when I was like 21. And I moved to New York City to be a really pretentious actor. and to like kind of fail privately in the theater. Like, that's what I was there to do. And I got this audition for this kids' TV cartoon show. And I was doing some voiceovers at the time. Like I was, doing some of that work. And I assumed that this was to be the voice of a cartoon.
Sure.
And I gotta tell you, if I had known it was to be on a kids' TV show, I don't know if I would have gone to that audition, because I was like, I can't be on kids' TV. I'd never thought about being, I'm not an educator or something. So I went to that audition thinking that it was to be a voice. And when I got there was a camera in the room. And I thought, oh, I guess I better do some stuff. And the script, the original script, the pilot script for Blue's Clues is written very much more like a game show, almost. A little bit more like, which one is the triangle? Do you know? You guess it. I was like, oh, no way, man. I moved to New York City to be Al Pacino. I'm going to act like that. So there was a camera in the room, right? So if the camera is here, and if this is too close to the camera, I was here. Like, I was in it, and I was like, which one is the triangle? Do you know? Like, I was like so in there. Like, I was like way over the top with it. And I remember watching Angela and Tracy, the women who created the show. I remember watching their reaction. They were like, huh. And so they liked what I was doing, right? And I remember they called me. They called me for my callback, right? They called me. They're like, hey, man, we like what you're doing. Do you own a clean shirt?
Like living on St. Mark's Place or something like that.
I was living in a shelf, like in Times Square. I had long hair and earrings, so I was like a skate punk. And but they liked what I was doing. But Nickelodeon didn't. Nickelodeon was like, he's weird. And we want, and this is a quote, like, we want someone more conventionally handsome to play the role. And so they kind of wanted, I can kind of see their point. Like, they kind of wanted like a heartthrobby guy. Like, I can kind of see why they would want that sort of thing. So it basically came down to me and a couple other people.
Were they heartthrob looking? Did you ever see them?
I still know one of them. But it came down to me and just a few other people. And they would, the way that I got the part is they would play the tapes, the VHS tapes, for a little focus group of kids, right? And so the one guy would be like, hi, which one of these is a triangle? Do you know? And the kids would be like, so there. Right? And they played mine, and I'm all like, I desperately need your help. And the kids literally broke out. They like, there's a video of them. They're standing up, they're smashing their hands onto the screen. They're like, oh, we have to help this guy, And so the truth is, this is real. You guys got me the job. So,
I think Ryan Gosling would have been a good choice anyway.
actually, he could be pretty good.
Well, you did the show for 6 years, 7 years?
6,000 years.
Well, how did it feel? Because you're kind of growing up as well. Like 6 years as a young man, like doing a show like that. You're going through a lot of stuff too, and you're trying to figure out, like, hey, how long is this going to work? What am I doing after this? Like, what's going through your mind as the years on Blue's Clues progress, and you see the audience age as well?
Well, first of all, in terms of the audience of Blue's Clues, that was, it didn't feel big to me. That's a weird thing to say. But Blue's Clues was shot on a blue screen, right? So I was the only actor, I was the only person in every take of every shot, every day, forever, which is me. And there were so many lights and things that I really couldn't see anymore.
Like the Truman Show.
It really kind of was.
Or how they shoot the Mandalorian now, but yeah.
They had it much easier than we had in season 1 of Blue's Clues. But I couldn't even really see the director most of the time. So it just felt like me and a camera. And that camera was you, right? So it felt like a very personal and small experience to me. Blue's Clues felt very small and like a very personal conversation with my friend. You know, so they would tell me like, "Well, you know, you're kicking Sesame Street's ass." And I'd be like, "What? That doesn't make any sense. It's just a little show we do in this closet over here." So it always felt I wasn't ever really aware. Even though people would tell me that the show was in 37 countries and that it was really a big children's television show, that was never something I was able to internalize until very recently. You know, what was this other part of the question?
No, I mean, as you're talking about it, and it's such a personal connection that you had, which is strange because you're doing it in a bit of a vacuum. I started wondering also about that Al Pacino party, like the part of you that you start going on through the years of doing Blue's Clues. What happened to that actor? And I know that you've done acting since, you've done serious roles, you've stretched your muscles in that way, but as you're doing Blue's Clues, what's the voice inside of you?
The voice inside of me during Blue's Clues, if you want the real, was always full of doubt. You know, because I never felt qualified to educate America's children. You know, I took it really seriously, and I always felt like, oh, hey, they might have the wrong guy. That's the way I always felt. Like, yeah, the whole time I thought, shouldn't this be an educator who's doing this? Shouldn't this be a child development specialist who is sort of in charge of this important curriculum? It wasn't just that we were teaching numbers and letters, we were also trying to convey messages of empowerment and self-esteem and all of this stuff. And it's like, I'm just like a scapegoat who fell into the wrong audition. You know, am I really qualified to do this job? And there was a lot of doubt about that. And again, it wasn't until recently, because the show was run and created by these brilliant child development specialists and research people, right? And they kind of left me alone when it came to like, how to talk to the camera. That was kind of my job. They were in charge of everything that could be quantified. And I was on the other side. I was on the ethereal, unquantifiable side of how to cultivate a parasocial relationship with a camera. And I was just kind of doing that from my gut, you know? And I didn't know that it would be this, ever. I didn't know that it was cutting through and that I was doing my job well, until that viral video last year.
Yeah, I feel like you learned a lot about mental health the hard way in those 6 years, and looking back at the Steve then who had the self-doubts, and maybe you battle with it still. What would you say to somebody out there who's undergoing something new or looking to maybe do something creative or something new and they're having doubts about themselves? I just want to keep asking you questions like that, but we'll start with that one. And we'll just kind of talk about mental health and what you would tell that young Steve today.
Yeah, well, you know, this is another thing. You know, I know we're all here to have a great time, and it's like, what, 12:30 in the afternoon? But I was also struggling with severe depression that whole time. I didn't know that that's what was going on. You know, I didn't know that that's why I was feeling the way I was feeling.
Was it talked about as much as it is today?
No, and everyone talks about it now, which I think is awesome. You know, and I think that's really great because, you know, what I was going through back then was not unique or special. You know, I truly believe that everyone, literally all of us, struggles in some way. I think that's unavoidable. I think that is really part of the human condition, and I think that is inherent in being a human being on planet Earth, is that to some degree, we're all going to struggle with life at some point. And I was. And I knew that I had a really good thing going on. And I knew that I loved it dearly. But my depression was feeding this self-doubt, right? It wasn't that I was desperately sad and I was too sad to discern which of these snacks was a graham cracker. It wasn't like that. But it was feeding this concept of self-doubt within me that said, you're probably not good enough to be doing this. You're probably not the right guy for all of this. And it started, especially after I left the show, and there was this huge rumor going on forever and ever that I had died in some terrible way, and that rumor just wouldn't go away, and I was like, oh man. So those feelings started to feel a little unmanageable in my life, and that's when I literally did the thing that I did every day on Blue's Clues for 3 million years, which was I sat down in front of someone and with all of the sincerity I could find said, will you help? And let's hear it for help. And I have to tell you, at least in my experience, as soon as I did that, everything really did kind of change for me. It's not like I skip through life and I feel the daisies every day, but the things in my life that felt so unmanageable are totally within my capacities to handle. But it was just, there was so much resistance to asking for that. And if I can say if there's anything I learned from Steve from Blue's Clues, is that there is no shame in asking for help if you need it. Especially now, right, during the holidays, this is the hardest time of all. So it really is, right? It is.
So how close did you get to your therapist when you asked that question? Where you're like,
help me.
Well, let's talk about it, because you made a video during the pandemic that went viral.